A quiet suburban neighborhood. On September 2nd, 2019, what seemed like an ordinary evening in this peaceful suburban neighborhood took a shocking and violent turn. It began with a frantic 911 call, neighbors reporting screams, gunshots, and a woman chasing another down the street. The woman at the center of the chaos was Amanda Butler. That night, Amanda was arrested and taken in for interrogation, accused of attempting to harm her wife in a moment of rage. Witnesses claimed they saw her chasing her spouse while firing a handgun. But what Amanda didn't realize during her arrest, what she couldn't have known, was that one of the bullets she fired had found its target. Scene 2. A troubled relationship. The story of Amanda Butler and her wife began like many others. By all outward appearances, they seemed like a happy couple, enjoying the typical milestones of a shared life. However, behind closed doors, their relationship was far from ideal. Friends and close acquaintances later revealed that Amanda and her wife had been embroiled in constant arguments for months, with the tension steadily growing in the weeks leading up to that fateful night. The couple had been struggling to communicate, and their once loving bond had turned into a battlefield of unresolved issues and emotional distance. In a last-ditch attempt to address the mounting strain, Amanda had even asked her wife for a divorce, a request that only seemed to intensify the already fragile situation. This desperate plea for separation was just one more sign of the deep rift that had formed between them. Scene 3. Amanda in interrogation. Amanda Butler was arrested after neighbors reported hearing gunfire during what appeared to be a heated argument. Her wife, who had been injured in the incident, received medical care, and the police immediately began their investigation to uncover the full story. The scene was chaotic and disturbing. Neighbors recalled hearing a series of screams followed by multiple shots, which prompted them to look outside. They described seeing Amanda's wife fleeing into the distance, seemingly unharmed, though visibly shaken. The confusion and panic of the moment left the community rattled and desperate for answers. As the investigation unfolded, however, the truth gradually began to surface. The detectives carefully pieced together witness statements, physical evidence, and the timeline of events. It became clear that the shooting wasn't as straightforward as it initially seemed. Hidden details of the altercation emerged, revealing the emotional turmoil and the escalating tension that had been building between the couple. The detectives worked tirelessly to uncover the full extent of the violent confrontation, shedding light on the disturbing dynamics that had ultimately led to the tragic turn of events. The police report described a heated argument between Amanda and her wife that escalated dramatically when Amanda retrieved a handgun from the garage. Tensions peaked as Amanda pointed the weapon at her wife, turning the situation into a dangerous and frightening ordeal. In a desperate bid to escape, the victim fled the house, running toward a neighbor's home for safety. As she ran, Amanda fired 2 shots, breaking the quiet of the suburban neighborhood. Alarmed by the sound of gunfire, neighbors described the scene as chaotic and deeply unsettling. Amanda appeared eager to unload her frustrations about her toxic relationship with her wife, speaking to anyone who would listen, as though she were seeking validation or sympathy for her situation. However, the detectives remained undistracted, keeping their focus firmly on the immediate issue at hand: the shooting. They quickly learned that Amanda had fired 2 shots. One bullet struck her wife, injuring her, while the second shot missed its intended target, instead crashing through a neighbor's front door. The bullet traveled across the living room, causing damage, before exiting through a window at the back of the house. The detectives were now tasked with unraveling the details of the incident, piecing together the chaotic sequence of events that led to such a violent and dangerous confrontation. The detective told Amanda that her wife had been struck by a bullet, but Amanda seemed to completely overlook or ignore this piece of information, offering no response at the time. However, later in the interview, Amanda asked the detective if her wife had been injured by a bullet,
that you fired?
Yes.
Okay, so if you fired a warning shot, like go away in your driveway, and then she did go away, she's over here, so then why did you shoot at her again? It's the second shot. Why did you shoot again, the second shot?
Because she never goes away, sir.
Oh, you just said she was standing over here at the neighbor's house, though.
Yeah, she was standing over there at the neighbor's house, but she doesn't back down until you hunker down into a hole and...
When the detective confirmed this, Amanda was clearly taken aback, visibly shocked by the news. She claimed that she had no idea her wife had been hurt, despite the fact that the detective had already mentioned it earlier. Her reaction suggested that either the initial information hadn't sunk in, or she had been in such a state of distress that it didn't register until the question was asked again. Amanda's assertion that the act was unplanned and spontaneous. Additionally, according to Amanda, her wife had been in attack mode during the confrontation, which further complicated Amanda's claim of a sudden and unprovoked action. This raised doubts about the situation being as one-sided as Amanda portrayed, prompting the detectives to delve deeper into the true dynamics of the incident. As the investigation continued, the detectives needed to determine whether Amanda's actions could be justified as self-defense. They analyzed the crime scene evidence and witness testimonies to assess the situation. According to reports, Amanda's wife had been attempting to flee when she was shot, with the injury occurring while she was in the neighbor's backyard. This raised crucial questions about the nature of the confrontation: whether Amanda's wife posed an immediate threat, whether she was trying to escape, and whether Amanda's response had been reasonable or driven by fear, aggression, or vengeance. The detectives had to carefully review all the evidence, including witness accounts and the timeline of events, to establish whether Amanda's actions could be legally classified as self-defense. Scene 4. Amanda's confession. Amanda eventually confessed to shooting her wife, admitting that it was not an act of self-defense.
I've been trying.
Can we agree? Do you agree with me if I say that is not self-defense? Do you agree with that statement? Do you think it's self-defense, what you just said? You had a gun, she didn't have a gun, you're standing in your driveway, she's over here at the neighbor's trying to get help, and you shot her. Is that self-defense?
Where was she hit?
She's fine. She's gonna survive. It's not life-threatening injury.
Well,
but you did hit her. You hit her.
Where was she hit?
She had a graze to the hip.
This revelation meant that she could now face charges of attempted murder and aggravated assault. The detective's next step was to investigate how Amanda had sustained the injuries on her body. She claimed that her wife had inflicted the wounds during a confrontation, but the detectives were doubtful of her story. The physical evidence contradicted her account, leading them to believe that the injuries were either self-inflicted or fabricated to create the illusion of being attacked. It appeared that Amanda was trying to portray herself as the victim, using the wounds to justify her actions. The detectives now had to examine the injuries more closely to uncover the truth behind her claims and understand her real intentions. Amanda repeatedly claimed that she wasn't sure if any of the bullets had struck her wife, despite the detective having made it abundantly clear that her wife had indeed been hit. It was evident that Amanda's confusion, or perhaps avoidance, was a way of distancing herself from the severity of the situation. According to Amanda, the gun wasn't meant to be used. She claimed it was an impulsive decision, driven by anger and frustration, but investigators weren't convinced. Amanda knew the charges she would be facing, but it became clear very quickly that she had expected to walk out of the station that day. She seemed to think the situation would resolve without much consequence, unaware of the full extent of the legal implications. Scene 5. Amanda's arrest and conviction. The investigation revealed a series of events that ultimately led to Amanda's arrest, and authorities pieced together the details to determine the truth behind the altercation. Amanda attempted to create the illusion that she'd been attacked in an effort to justify her actions as self-defense. However, her efforts to manipulate the situation ultimately failed, and the truth came to light. In the end, she was charged with first-degree attempted murder, shooting deadly missiles, and domestic aggravated assault. The severity of the charges reflected the gravity of her actions, and the court found her guilty. As a result, Amanda was sentenced to 30 years in prison, a sentence that would not only cost her freedom, but also serve as a stark reminder of the consequences of her decisions. The conviction marked the end of a chapter in her life, one defined by lies, emotional turmoil, and an irreversible chain of events. Aftermath. Her wife's injuries, though non-fatal, would leave deep emotional and physical scars, a painful reminder of the violent confrontation that occurred. The case sparked heated debates about the complexities of domestic violence, the critical role of mental health in abusive relationships, and the devastating consequences of impulsive actions made in the heat of the moment. Many were left questioning how a relationship that appeared normal on the outside could spiral into such a tragic event. The incident served as a wake-up call for many, shedding light on the often overlooked signs of emotional and physical abuse in relationships. It emphasized the importance of recognizing these warning signs early and seeking help before it's too late, in hopes of preventing such tragedies from happening again. For Amanda and her wife, the events of September 2, 2019 would forever alter the course of their lives, leaving lasting effects on both their futures and their personal journeys toward healing. This is the true story of Amanda Butler, a story of love, anger, and the devastating consequences of a single, impulsive moment. It is a stark reminder that, in moments of intense emotion, decisions made in haste can have lifelong consequences. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.